Have you ever wondered in the middle of the night, why do Chinese people look so similar? How do they even tell each other apart so easily, just like we recognize differences among ourselves? Why do East Asian populations, especially in China, Japan, and Korea, seem to have such similar features? Welcome to Midnight Reflections, where curiosity never sleeps. Now, let's find out. To understand this properly, we need to split it into two parts. First, we'll explore why Chinese people seem to look alike. Then, we'll uncover why they actually don't all look the same. It may sound strange now, but by the end of this video, it'll all make perfect sense. Let's start with the basics. If I showed you a photo of a Chinese person among people from other nationalities, chances are you'd recognize them immediately. That suggests there are common facial traits among East Asians. But why is that? Well, most East Asian populations, including Chinese, Japanese, and Koreans, all trace their roots back to one ancestral group, the original Mongolic people. This group had distinct physical traits: narrow, slanted eyes, straight black hair, small noses, features that developed over thousands of years of isolation and selective intermarriage. For centuries, these populations mostly married within their own communities, preserving a pure genetic line that retained those same features through generations. According to one theory, these traits actually evolved as a survival mechanism. Long before they spread across Asia, many of their ancestors lived in extremely cold, windy regions near the Arctic. Their narrow eyes helped protect them from snow glare and strong winds. Their smaller noses helped warm up cold air before it reached the lungs. All of these features were evolutionary advantages in those harsh conditions. And it doesn't stop there. Many of these populations also share similar diets, especially those rich in seafood and fish. Surprisingly, one study suggests that diet can actually affect facial structure over generations. For example, a Chinese person raised in China might look noticeably different from a Chinese person born and raised in the US. Not because they're from different backgrounds, but because they grew up eating completely different foods and living in very different environments. So in short, if you've ever wondered why so many Chinese people seem to look alike, the answer lies in thousands of years of preserved genetics, a shared diet, and adaptation to similar environmental conditions. But wait, there's another side to the question: why is it that Chinese people don't all look the same? Before you get confused, let me ask you something. Do Caucasians look alike? Think about it. Can you easily tell apart people from Europe, North America, and parts of North Africa? The answer is yes. Caucasians do share many common facial features. In fact, just like East Asians trace their roots back to the Mongolic lineage, Caucasians, whether American, European, or North African, descend from a shared ancestral group known as the Caucasoid race. It's the same with other regions too. People from sub-Saharan Africa and Guinea, for example, also share noticeable similarities and belong to the same broad racial group. This isn't a Chinese thing. It's a human thing. Still not convinced? Let me tell you a true story. In the US, back in September 2015, a man found someone else's shopping cart and decided to use it illegally. Eventually, the police tracked him down and arrested him. But here's the twist. The man they arrested just stood there, completely confused. Turns out they had the wrong guy. He looked so much like the real suspect that even law enforcement couldn't tell the difference. They only discovered the truth after detailed investigations. Why did this happen? Because sometimes people of the same race or region do look strikingly similar, regardless of where they're from. It happens to all of us. You've probably mistaken someone before, on TV, at an airport, in a tourist spot. Maybe you saw a group of East Asians and thought they were all Chinese, when they could have been Japanese, Korean, or even Indonesian. So, do Chinese people look alike? Yes, and also no. It all depends on your perspective, your exposure, and your own cultural familiarity. We tend to see more differences in the people we're surrounded by every day, and we see more similarities in groups we're less familiar with. That's just how the human brain works. But let's go even deeper. Are East Asians really that similar? Or is it just our brains playing tricks on us? Well, a group of researchers in the United States explored exactly that. And they came up with something called ethnic blindness. It's a cognitive phenomenon that makes it difficult for people of one ethnic group to recognize subtle facial differences in people of another group. So what happens? You think they all look the same, even though they don't? Let me simplify it with a story. Imagine two parents have identical twin daughters. At first, most people can't tell the twins apart. But the parents? They've spent so much time with them, they can easily notice the smallest differences. Over time, their eyes have been trained to recognize what others can't. And that's exactly what happens when we talk about Chinese people. Yes, at first glance, it feels like everyone looks the same. You might walk through a city in China and think it's full of copy-paste faces, but spend time there. Live among them. Look closer. Listen more. Interact more. And suddenly, you'll realize just how different they all are. Every face becomes unique. Every person, unmistakable. Let's try something fun. We'll show you 3 photos. Can you guess who's Chinese? Who's Japanese? Got your guesses? Well, surprise. None of them were Chinese or Japanese. They were all Korean. See? When we're unfamiliar with certain facial traits, like narrow eyes, flat noses, and straight, shiny hair, our brain just labels everything under one category. We think they're all Chinese, even if they're from Kazakhstan, Thailand, Indonesia, the Philippines, Uzbekistan, Vietnam, or Malaysia. Each of those countries has distinct features and cultural traits. And here's the kicker. People from those regions? They can easily tell each other apart. A Japanese person can immediately recognize a Korean. A Thai person can spot a Vietnamese at first glance. But us, we just say, "Oh, he's Chinese." And here's the weirdest part. Even though we often say that all East Asians look alike, the truth is, they think we all look alike too. This phenomenon has actually been studied by a group of researchers at the University of Glasgow. They conducted an experiment with 2 groups of people. The first group was made up of East Asians like Chinese and Japanese individuals, and the second group included people from outside East Asia, like Arabs and Europeans. They showed both groups a series of faces, some from their own ethnicity and some from unfamiliar ethnic groups, all while monitoring brain activity. And guess what? The results were fascinating. Both groups took significantly more time and effort to recognize and distinguish people from other races than their own. The brain literally worked harder when trying to process unfamiliar facial features. So, what does that tell us? It means every race tends to see members of other races as looking similar, especially if they haven't interacted with them much. So yes, Chinese people may look similar, but so do South Africans, Arabs, and even Europeans. It just depends on who's doing the looking. No matter where you're from or what you look like, don't forget to hit like, share, and subscribe. Now you know. Got more midnight questions? Drop them in the comments. Stay curious, and I'll see you in another Midnight Mystery.